We are doing welcome to lesson 10. Okay, so let's get right into it. The separation of development, okay? The reasons are looking for volunteers, right? How are you going to separate your developmental process? What are you going to go through, and what have you been able to separate out of that development? Now, this is what I like to find. It's the combination of social testing and physical testing in the field, but it's the stuff that floats to the surface, right? The stuff that it's easy to skim off the top. When you've got all the sediment at the bottom, it's what's going to be the easy thing that you can just scrape off, like the leaves floating on top of a pool, right? It's, some people call it low-hanging fruit, right? Like what can you just like pluck, right? So what I've done throughout the last 18 months is I've been going through these different developmental groups of different mentors, right? Pedro, Pete, Dean, Tony. And in those groups, I've pulled out individuals and I've put them into the Entrepreneurs Resource Association group, which is run by the Urban Fellowship. And in this group, I've also put the information that I sent off to the guys to structure. So it functions both as social proof and people that are in those communities. Well, the people that are in that community, some of them have paid the mentors and the gurus the information, but they haven't paid me that information, even though that information is the culmination of our collective works, from my behind the scenes to their in front of the scenes. Now me stepping in front of the camera saying, hey, look, this is how this works, this is the application of it, and these are the structures that can go back through, and we can apply it deeper. We can go harder on loving our people, so that way we get the results that we're looking for. So at each stage of development, people come at different stages in your community. So when you have a thing you're teaching, different subjects that you teach will yield different results, different people that adapt to that information better, you know? So who is it that you align with in those places of that information, so that you can bring that out and bring that into the forefront of what you're talking about? Like I said, I've got people that I'm working with from Pedro's community, people that I'm working with from Dean and Tony's community, people that I'm working with from Pete's community. All of these different community groups that have been created on the back end of a challenge, or at the back end of a course, or at the back end of an event, not just as a paid resource, but as the free resource to connect with people and test these processes, right? So you need to be able to think about your stuff, not just by what you're buying from a guru, but who you can interact with in that group that you can actually test your ideas with, or test collaborations with, or become friends with. And that's all about social networking, social marketing. Not just network marketing, but it's the social engineering around your thing that you're doing to build and demonstrate you have the capacity to do what you're talking about. Do you see what I did there? I just taught you what I've done. I'm telling you exactly how you do it, and I've already done it. So it shows you the value in advance for what can happen behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, and then going back and creating the entire package. And so this is how you separate out your period of development, so that way at each stage you know, I am pulling these people from this group to learn this process, but at the same time I can create these things, which then go back to doing that, which then go into doing this, which then allows for these new conversations to happen, and it just spirals into a deeper conversation that can be had in relation to how you build out your space, how you develop your infrastructure around your widget or where, your community, your course, your course that you're teaching, the lesson inside the course that you're teaching. It all has congruency to what it is you're intending, how it is you're directing it, and how it is you're willing those things to come full circle, so that way they understand the information. So you're creating those spirals of interaction, so that at every point there's a follow through and a tie back, so that no matter which way they go in your journey, there is a journey they go on, and it's controlled, because you're providing them keys, and you're providing them resources, and you're giving them access to that kingdom, right? So in this particular case, it started back in 2017 when I was working with Anne. It was a transformative spell. 2018, I was working with Keith. And in 2020, we did a spell of transformation. So it took him 2 years working with me before he was comfortable enough to allow me to transform his body energy into a total alignment that allowed him to connect to his ancestors in a deeper way, which now he's doing lineage transmission stuff, working with people that are lineage transmission teachers, father to son, so on and so on, back in unbroken traditions for Viking, Norse, Satyr traditions, the Vitki, or the Druid traditions, or the Slavic traditions. Like, he is now connected with his ancestral base because of a ritual transformation that he did that put himself in total congruency with his origin. So I know that method works. And that's the kind of method that I'll only teach occultists. That'll be the only method that I teach the people that are willing to embrace and walk in their power, with people that are understanding not only of the lineage that they represent, but the power that they represent when they embody the totality of their ancestry in physical form. The separation of that developmental state. What was that 2-year journey like? That's what you got to figure out for your clients, and you got to be able to get the volunteers that you can pull through the different stages of those to come forward and talk about it, right? To go through their journey in a one-on-one or a one-to-many situation, where you can learn from them directly if you need to maintain privacy, you can do that in a one-on-one environment, and then you can talk about other things later that don't violate the conditions of those arrangements, right? And then by the end of year 1, you'll have a new set of stories. By the end of year 2, you'll understand those stories much deeper. And by year 3, you will have completed all the tasks that will allow you to understand and teach those stories back, and the lessons that are the nuanced stories within them, inside of those traditions that you're talking about, inside of the courses that you're talking about, inside of the community that you've built out, inside of the books that you've written, or the course material that you've developed, as it relates to the physical experience of applying what it is you have to teach in the marketplace as you teach it. So that way you're not left out, you're not leaving anybody behind, you're creating the density of information, but you're doing it in a way that allows them to process that in a different way. So they can go through lesson 1 on their own, they can go through lesson 7 on their own, they can go through lesson 12, lesson 13, whatever the different ones are, whatever is going to make the most sense to teach that type of material in that kind of way. This gives you the means to teach it. This gives you the understanding of, I have this thing, I have this story, what is the lesson, what is the outcome, right? And so then what is your goal for completion? What does it look like after year 1? What does it look like after year 2? What does it look like after year 3? By the 3rd year with me, I want everybody to be able to teach back the information I taught them to somebody new, right? Or at least have the confidence to do that, and to have the confidence to be able to step forward and to create the next step in their journey, so that way as they get served by this information, not only do they have a lineage and other resources that are trusted sources, not only do they have a community of people that have been there before them that they can go ask or mentor under, or they can collaborate with, but they have the resources to create those repetitive situations, those ritual environments, the meditations, the thoughts that are going to get them through their dark periods, their yin state, so that they move into their yang state, where they're willing to have the courage to act, so that as they move forward, you know exactly what's going on, and you can plot their journey safely, so that nobody's left behind in that path. Mapping the journey is really important, but it's not about doing it on your own. It's about compressing as much possible time as you have, so that way what you're doing is the most important thing that you can do. Because what you do serves other people at the highest possible level, but it also serves them simply. So that by your command of the information, you can simply deliver this within 10 minutes or less. So that way you can go through and you can pick and choose, well, this is going to be the lesson that I teach about. This is the congruent message that it has to share. This is why it's important to learn that. See what I'm doing? It's creating those cycles, it's creating those loops over and over again, using different ways to build out these repetition patterns, so that what you do can be done and has been done and gets demonstrated as your ability to command the information, which allows you to learn other information to improve your nuance, to humanize your material, so that it's not just rote memorization of these things, it's an organic process that you've already worked and created with others, that you already know those others and the journey of the others in that situation. So that all you have to do is say, hey, look, I got this thing. It can help you on your way. Where are you at in your journey? Ask them questions. Find out new solutions to those questions. Right? Again, it goes back to the astrological correspondence. What is the separation between the nature of the behavior between the elements and the planets in nature? But so too, what is the personality behind and the physical environment behind and the behaviors behind that individual that you're speaking to? How do you know them? How do you draft them out? How do you be able to help each and every type of person by understanding the separation of each of those stages so that there is a congruent journey? So delivering that is how you build this type of a lesson. Anyway, I will see you in the next one.